Jai Guru. Greetings once again to all the devotees who are here participating in the Sangam. Also greetings to devotees who are joining vicariously. That means the e-devotees. Those who are not physically present here, but they are all joining with us all over the world. So greetings to every one of you. So let us have again a short prayer. Beloved God, make me realize that I am your blessed child, made in divine image. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. The various scriptures, they all tell us that we are Amritasya Putra, children of the Most High, and immortal beings, etc. In various scriptures, through various saints, we all hear that, isn't it? And in our YSS SRF website, you all may have noticed the line which comes on the top. You remember that? You realize that all along there was something tremendous within you and you did not know it. That means all along we had that great higher consciousness within us, but we were not aware of it. Once we get the realization, then we realize, oh, all along it was there with me. That's why you remember that what Divine Mother told Guruji at 4 Garpar Road. Divine Mother said, always have I loved thee, ever shall I love thee. That means there is not a moment when the divine is absent from us. Only problem is we are not aware. So all we need to do is to increase our awareness. That's why Guruji gives a beautiful definition of self-realization. It is knowing in body, mind and soul that we are one with God's omnipresence. We don't have to pray that it come to us. God's omnipresence is our omnipresence. All we need to do is to increase our awareness. So that's what today we'll dwell on that. And if you combine these two ideas, that Amritasya Putra, children of immortality, and the saying in our website, that is all along that there was something tremendous within us. So we get an insight into the mystery of life from that. One great thinker captures this very nicely. He says, we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having human experience. This was a great personage from France. Our Gurudeva dwells on this vital topic in many places in his teachings. In lessons, autobiography, God talks with Arjuna, second coming of Christ, everywhere. You find Guruji dwells on depth. Today we'll glean a few points from those. Also, we will try to create a to-do list. What we need to do so that we can attain the divine stature. It is not enough to know the theory. We also have to have a methodology. What we need to do in order to attain that state. That is what the emphasis in Yogoda self-realization is direct experience of divinity. Not just only philosophy or theory or just ideas. We have to have the idea, correct idea, surely, because without correct concept, we can't move forward. But we should not be satisfied with only ideas or intellectual satisfaction. But we need to really experience that higher states of consciousness. So to summarize that so beautifully, I will take 3 stanzas or 3 poems from Whispers from Eternity, where Guruji tells us who we were first, how we became what we are now, and why we are miserable. First, I am a spark of the cosmic fire. When the sparks of creation first flew from the bosom of flame, I sang in the chorus of astral lights that heralded the coming of the worlds. I am an immortal spark of the cosmic fire. See, that is what our real status is. I am an immortal spark of the cosmic fire. Second one, each of us reflects thine individuality. That great flame of God that individualizes itself. O Son of Life, as thou didst first peep into the mortal cups of mind, filled with the molten liquid of thy vitality, thou wert caught within the microcosm of human feelings. From thy gaze, each of thy children retained a unique facet of thine individuality. In their lives, I behold expressions of thine inexhaustible variety. That one infinite intelligence with inexhaustible variety creates each one of us. And each one of us are different. We are unique. That is something marvelous, That means we are never a lower or grosser beings. We are always one with the infinite, and one unique quality of the divine is reflected, is inside within each one of us. Now, what is the problem? Third poem tells us now. Make me clean again, Divine Mother. Thou didst dress me in raiment immaculate. That means we were perfect. When we were with God, we were perfect. But by the power of Maya, that individuality is created. And we are invested with that 3 bodies. Then what happens? Divine Mother is sending us and sent me out to play the drama. Divine Mother has sent us. God has sent us. I wandered away and frolicked among the fruitless trees of delusion. The shadows of the forest of suffering enveloped me. That's how we get caught. I went out spotless. Now I am besmirched with the mud of ignorance. O Divine Mother, wash me in waters of thy wisdom. Make me clean again. So, these 3 poems beautifully capture, isn't it? They capture the idea who we are, how God hypnotized all of us and made us all play the drama, and foolishly we got caught in delusion. We forgot our divinity. That's why we've had the prayer. We are sent out to play the dreams of births and deaths. But the main point which you have forgotten, remembering our oneness with God. That is where the problem is. We forgot. We forgot our oneness and struggling now to get back to that. And our Guruji took a human form as an avatar to come down from his home in heaven. He is already one with God. There is no need for him to come. He has come what for? To help us to regain our divine stature. That is the purpose for which he has come. And it is so beautifully expressed in God's Boatman poem. I will quote only 4 lines. I want thine everlasting bliss. That is our real nature. To be always in joy. Ever new joy. Inexhaustible joy. Infinite joy. That is our real nature, isn't it? So, I want thine everlasting bliss. Guruji is praying to God. Only that I may share it with others. Not selfishly, only for myself. I want to share it with all. There is a beautiful saying in Tamil by a great saint, Tirumular, Yan betra inbam peruga ivayyagam. That means the bliss which I have received, let the whole world receive that bliss. That is the attitude of great avatars. That is why they come with a great compassion and kindness and love for us. That's why they come. They have already attained immortality and oneness with God. But they are not satisfied. They see my brothers and sisters are suffering. I want to help them. The way I have attained, they also should attain. So beautifully expressed by Guruji in this poem. I want thine everlasting bliss, only that I may share it with others. That I may show all my brothers the way to happiness forever and forever in thee. So that is why it is good for us to remember why Guruji has come and what Guruji is asking us to do. And willingly we just follow Guruji's instructions. It is for our highest benefit. Not just benefit, highest benefit. Because we will achieve the goal of life, which is to regain our divine stature. I put it like a simple formula. To regain, to retain, and never to lose it again. Very nice, isn't it? That means to regain our divine stature and to retain it and never to lose it again. So that is the purpose of life. Purpose of life is only that, nothing else. We should be very clear in that. Otherwise, unnecessarily we will have all sorts of ideas and desires. I have to achieve this, I have to achieve that, I need this, all that. But that will not do. No matter how many things we attain. We may be the most famous person in the world. But still we will not be satisfied. So why follow that? Swami Anandamayi Ji, when he first came to the path, he read autobiography and he was an apprentice under world famous architect Frank Lloyd Wright. When he was with him, he saw Frank Lloyd Wright celebrated 80th birthday. And all over the world, from all over the world, he was receiving, wonderful messages and appreciations and everything. So he thought he should be the happiest person in the world. But then he had already read the autobiography. He knew, no matter how many outer achievements we have, we will not be satisfied. So what he did, he very carefully observed Frank Lloyd Wright. He said, I watched him like a hawk. That means very carefully, especially when he is alone, nobody else is there. Very quiet moments. Then he caught one day. He was a very frustrated man. So he said that if I follow him, I will also, get similar thing. Then later on, he just joined the ashram. But then The main point is, no matter how many outer achievements we have, that will not be enough. We will find we will always be dissatisfied. Because that's why Guruji covered that beautifully, man's eternal quest. We achieve something, we want something more. We achieve something more, we want something still further more. So we go on like that. And today's spiritual diary, that day I asked you the quiz. Probably many of the Ranchi devotees were not there. I can repeat again. So I am going to ask you 2 questions. 1. How many of you have read today's spiritual diary thought? Please raise your hands. Good. Better than the last time. But I want 100%. This is not enough. Before you leave your home, always have the habit of reading spiritual diary. This is a very simple thing to do. If you do that, you will see how much spiritual progress you make. Just by simple thing like that. Then, out of syllabus question. How many of you have read this month's YSS calendar thought? Please raise your hands. So, comparatively much fewer. Where Guruji says, if you make up your mind to change, you will change. So there you see a great secret is there. That means we are our own enemies and we don't know it. We think that I am a very weak person, I have all these shortcomings, I cannot really make the spiritual grade, I am no good. This type of negative criticism of ourselves. It is acting like when you are driving a car, if you keep the handbrake on. One day, one devotee was driving me. He was trying and the car was not moving very fast. He said, what is the problem? Everything I had checked, car was fine. Then he realized handbrake was on. So if you drive with the handbrake on, then no matter what efforts you are making, you are going to neutralize that. Though similar way, if we have a negative self-critical attitude, which is like driving our life with handbrake, which many people do. What do we do if there is a problem? All the time, just dwelling on the problem. I don't have a job. I am trying for so many years. I don't know when I will get a good job, how I am going to manage my family, whatever. Then all the time, just thinking on that. Will it help? Ask that simple question. Will it help? No. You go on worrying and concentrating on negative thought. You are going to attract negative vibration magnetically. If you are thinking positive, you will attract positive. If you are think very so simple, if you think negatively, magnetically you are going to attract that. So in today's spiritual diary thought, Guruji asks us to concentrate on the essentials. The other day when I was coming, a devotee was reading the book. Put first things first. So nice, isn't it? That was by a great management person, Stephen Covey. Put first things first. Out of 7 habits of highly effective people. So one of them is the put first things first. On that itself there is a book. So Guruji tells us exactly that today. Today's spiritual diary, he says, many people think of so many things. I have to have this, I have to have that. Then only I will find fulfillment. But if you simplify your life, not having so many desires, and also quoting Bhagavad Gita so nicely, Apuryamanam achala pratishtam samudram apa pravishanti yadvat tadvat kama yam pravishanti sarve sa shantim apnoti na kama kami. Where Krishna tells so beautifully that His mind is full with contentment, whose desires ever flow inward. That man is like a changeless ocean which is kept brimful with constantly entering waters. He is not a Muni who bores holes of desires in the reservoir of peace and lets the waters escape. So this tells us very clearly that the best way to satisfy a desire is to turn it inward. But then, sometimes it becomes difficult. Then we have to practice what Guruji calls titiksha. I will give you a personal example. One of the Sangams, I was leading evening meditation long before. Somehow, they concentrated on the pandal where they had done nice spraying for mosquitoes and everything. They forgot the stage. So the mosquitoes were concentrating on me. And I had just instructed the people, gave pep talk. Don't move, be still. Now immediately my test has started. So I thought, what shall I do now? I just told everybody to be still, and if I keep moving here and there. So then I said, no, Guruji, you have to help me. So I just focused on Guruji's presence. Amazingly, I was not aware of the mosquitoes at all. It was so beautiful. So if you learn to detach your consciousness from the outer sensations, then you will realize the presence of the divine inside. But unfortunately, I did not repeat that many times more. So we don't get the results always, isn't it? Sometimes we get the results, sometimes we don't get. But then you know that it is possible. So as you keep on improving more and more from wherever we are, slowly then you will find that it is possible. What Krishna says is very much true. That means the more we turn inward, the outer things will not affect you so much. That's why Guruji said beautifully, if you truly love God inwardly, nothing external can affect you. What a great statement that is. If you truly love God inside, nothing external can touch you. Even greatest grief, greatest loss, nothing can touch you. Isn't that what we want? We all surely want that. That type of equanimity, that type of even-mindedness, that type of anchoring in God. Brahmasthiti. That is the Brahmasthiti. So when we achieve that oneness with God, then all problems are solved. Now, in order to remind us about the divine stature, Guruji gives us advice, which I have repeated many times. 3 things Guruji asks us to do. What are they? Read Science of Religion. 2. Holy Science, 2nd chapter. Then Autobiography, 14th chapter. Experience in Cosmic Consciousness, especially Samadhi poem. So, why Guruji tells us to do this again and again? Because by the power of Maya, our consciousness very easily goes outward. It remains caught. It becomes worldly. We can caught in the externals. But again and again, if you take the initiative proactively, we remind ourselves that no, this is just a drama. Who I am really? I am a child of God. I am a child of immortality. To remember that, these things we need to do. That is Science of Religion, 2nd chapter. Then Holy Science, Holy Science, 2nd chapter, Science of Religion, and Autobiography, 14th chapter, especially Samadhi poem. Like Samadhi poem, the last two lines. Last time I could talk with a little confidence because after so many years, I made the effort to memorize the Samadhi poem. So if I want to impress you, I can recite. I don't want to do that. But then what I did was, during the COVID time, it was a blessing in disguise for me. Because then I didn't know what to do. Then I said that, Guruji says again and again. So every day I read 2 lines, 4 lines, and kept on memorizing. So very soon I could memorize the whole poem. So the last 2 lines, a tiny bubble of laughter, I am become the sea of mirth itself. Isn't it? So nicely Guruji says, plus quoting Taittiriya Upanishad also in between. From joy I came, for joy I live, in sacred joy I melt. So that is what our real nature is. That is, we have come out of joy and we are supposed to be striving for joy. For joy we live. Then, once we have played our part well, without losing that our courage. We should be courageous and we should be determined. That's why we said we have to make up our minds. Once we are determined, I am going to regain my divine stature. Nothing can prevent you. No force in this world can prevent you. What a great thing that is. Let your self-realization blossom forth from your soulful study. You see, every lesson Guruji says that. What is soulful study? Soulful study means not just reading like a novel, but reading it very deeply, absorbing it. Sravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. That is the process we need to follow. First time you read the whole thing, get the gist of it. Then take one paragraph or one line, whatever, one theme. Focus on that. Third, see how you can apply it in daily life. Just means it should not be just only theoretical idea. It should be translated into practical action. If we do that, the teaching will become our own. So we have to make like that. So that is why, we need to do a lot of things. We need to make a lot of effort. So if we do that, then gradually we will find from Guruji's teachings, we will get appropriately what is needed at a particular time. That will be really wonderful when we do that. Practical guidance comes to us. Okay, coming back now. So I will quote from the Holy Signs, the very first sloka in chapter 2, which Guruji asked us to, that again and again read. Yukteswarji says, when man understands, even by way of inference, the true nature of this creation, the true relation existing between the Creator, creation and himself, and when he further understands that he is completely blinded by the influence of darkness, Maya, and that it is the bondage of darkness alone which makes him forget his real self and brings about all his sufferings. That means the basic reason for suffering is forgetfulness of our connection with the Creator. That is the main reason for suffering. Then Yukteswarji says, then once he understands that, he naturally wishes to be relieved from all these evils. This relief from evil or liberation from the bondage of Maya becomes the prime object of his life. So beautiful, isn't it? Summarizes the whole thing. The prime object of his life becomes only that. That means we want to escape from all delusion. We want to be free from delusion. That is what is called mukti, liberation. Liberation means not just going somewhere, that beyond our earth, somewhere like that. It is not that. It is actually freedom from all delusion, freedom from Maya. So in a nutshell, when we discover our unity with the Creator, all problems are solved. That means oneness with God is the most important thing to focus on. To get that, let us remember this bold statement made by our Guruji on the chapter on Lahiri Mahashaya. Guruji said, "New hope for new men, divine union, the Yogavatar proclaimed, is possible through self-effort. And it is not dependent on theological belief or on the arbitrary will of a cosmic dictator." Then Guruji concludes the chapter. How he concludes, that is what the most important thing to focus on. Through the use of Kriya Ki, persons who cannot bring themselves to believe in the divinity of any man will behold at last the full divinity of their own selves. Isn't it beautiful? That means by the practice of Kriya Yoga, we will be able to realize that innate divinity within. That means we normally see around and then see only all, that shortcomings and flaws and inadequacy, whatever, human behavior. People do all sorts of things. So because of that, we can't believe in the divinity of any man easily. But by the practice of Kriya, once you realize the divinity within, then you realize, oh, same divinity is in all. It is only because of blinded by Maya, one functions at a grosser level. So once the person learns to function at a finer levels, higher levels, naturally the divinity will manifest more and more. So wonderful. That means first we have to realize the divinity within. Then only we will be able to see. I will give you a simple example. When I was working in Mumbai, at that time I was not meditating properly. So then I thought all my colleagues in my office, none of them were spiritual. I thought, all of them are very worldly and, that they are not good people like that. I mean, they are not really the higher human beings. But then, when I started to Kriya and just started practicing, then I found everybody was divine. So this tells us very clearly, we have to first experience the divinity within. Then only we will be able to see the divine spark in everybody else. Otherwise, we will be focusing only on the outer personality of the people. Once you see the outer personality, there is nothing charming there. There is nothing much. Maybe a little bit something you will see, but not really, something which is, like Anandamayiji's example I gave. How looking at Frank Lloyd Wright, the great famous man, even then you find that he was not a very perfect person. He was a flawed person. So then, if we follow Guruji's teachings, focus more and more on within, then we will find outer life, we will be able to behave properly. Now, Guruji has given us a syllabus. We all know that. How to live curriculum. What is that? Science of body care, mental engineering, social arts, applied spiritual science. So one may ask the question, why should I do all these things? In order to find the divinity within, why should I do all these things? Isn't it? Naturally, we can ask that question. So now, how do we get the answer for that? Guruji tells us first, the material and the spiritual are but two parts of the same universe and one truth. By overstressing one part or the other, man fails to achieve the balance necessary for harmonious development. Practice the art of living in this world without losing your inner peace of mind. Follow the path of balance to reach the inner wondrous garden of self-realization. Now, I will quote from Bhagavad Gita. This is chapter 3, 4th sloka. Na karmanama arambhat naishkarmyam purushoshnute nacha sanyasya nadeva siddhim samadhi gacchati. It may sound familiar to you because Guruji quotes this. In one of the talks, Guruji quotes this exactly. That what does it mean? Actionless is not attained simply by avoiding actions. That's a paradox. You want to reach actionless state. Naturally we will think, why have to get rid of all actions? I have to become a sannyasi. Means I have to renounce everything. Guruji gives, Bhagavan Krishna very clearly tells and Guruji explains in that chapter. God talks with Arjuna, you please go through. You will see very clearly. It is not by simply forsaking work that we reach perfection. It is by intense activity, God-remaining activity. That is how we find perfection. That's why when Guruji told Dayamataji, you have to do this, you have to do that, more and more work Guruji was giving, organizational work. She was wanting to do more and more meditation and remain sadhana, not want to get involved in organizational work. But Guruji kept on pushing her. Then Guruji explained, you cannot reach that actionless state. Similar, same thing. You cannot reach that actionless state. First, we learn to become intensely active. Then you can reach that state. That this we can understand in a simple way. The whole creation is governed by 3 gunas, isn't it? Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic. Tamasic is degrading. Rajasic is activating. Sattvic is elevating. So, if we don't do any work, then what we do? We degrade our consciousness. We go into tamasic state. That will not give us liberation. So, idleness, because that's why we always, tell in yoga, never keep the mind idle. Never keep the mind blank. Idleness is not spirituality. So, what is spirituality then? Understanding how God has created the universe. God is actually, in the ultimate, He is absolute. No vibration, nothing. He is beyond all vibrations. But then what He does? That's why Guruji says beautifully, how the nature of God. He is ineffably still and unimaginably busy. How can a person be both? Ineffably still and unimaginably busy. That is what God is. That means, in one side of God is completely free from all duality and He is nothing can touch. Absolute. Fully in bliss all the time. But a portion of God's consciousness is busy in creation, which is creating all this. That's why Anandamayaji used to tell us during retreats that our consciousness should be like icebergs. You know what is an iceberg? Made up of ice, it's like a big mountain, and which is all within the water, in the ocean. What we see outside is only a little bit on the top. So much is inside, within the ocean. Our consciousness should become like that. That means we are anchored in God, fully settled in our divinity, and outside a little bit, we use that to function on the outside world. So first what we do, we function fully on the outside world. We are fully outside. So from that state, gradually we have to come to this state where we are fully established, anchored in the divine. And we function also very effectively on the outside world. We doesn't require, all our attention is not required for that. We will discover that slowly. As we become more proficient in the practice of Kriya Yoga science, we find more and more we are established in the deep state of peace, joy, divine love, wisdom, etc. Some devotees say, when they get up in the morning or even in the night sometimes, the great Om vibration just comes. They feel so blissful, so nice. That means very clearly Guruji is giving them the experience that you are not a simple human being. You are made up of Om. You are pure vibration. You are pure joy. Like that type of indication comes. Sometimes it comes. But those of us, we don't get that experience, or occasionally we get the experience. Like once I was traveling by train to Mumbai from Ranchi. In the morning, early morning when I got up, suddenly, beautiful Om vibration, just I was enjoying. Unfortunately, it didn't come back again. That is because I need to still work out a lot of karma and still I need to get purified. That's what. So that is why we should take it. Whenever some nice experience comes, don't think that we already achieved. Then we become complacent. Then Maya will catch us. So then we have to be always on our toes, always alert. We have that saying, the other day I quoted, on the way to, in mountain roads we get, always alert, accident avert. But it's more inspiring in Hindi. Savdani hati, durgatna gati. So that is what is very important for us. That means we have to be always on our toes. That keep on improving our sadhana and keep on improving our behavior. Keep on increasing our devotion and love for God. That's all. So, in the end, what do we need to do? Guruji tells us in the last chapter of autobiography, a common man can also find God realization. He is not denied. All he needs, only 3 things. What are they? Daily practice of Kriya Yoga science. Regular practice of Kriya Yoga science. 2, right behavior. Behavior according to dharmic principles, dharma. That means yama niyama principles, 10 commandments, all of that, following all of that. Right behavior, not telling lies, always be truthful, not harming anybody, things like that, common sense, All the religions, they all emphasize on that. Ethical codes of all religions. So just follow. Let your daily life, your behavior be according to that. 3rd, a sincere ability to cry, Lord, I want you. That is devotion and love. Again, sometimes people say, I am not a devotional person. I don't have any devotion. That is not true. Holy Science, Yukteswarji tells us very clearly that each one of us, we are endowed with a divine gift. What is that? Shraddha. Heart's natural love. Heart's natural love is implanted in each one. That means it's not something to be attained. It's already there. What we need to do? Intensify that. Purify that. That's why Guruji says, the Shraddha, when it is cultivated in the right way and focused on the Guru, then it ripens. Then it becomes powerful. Then after that, we get very close to God very fast. Once the devotion becomes very strong, then it will be very easy to get, God realization. That's why Yukteswarji, I wanted to quote some more of Yukteswarji, but since there is not much time, I am shortening it. So one is, Yukteswarji tells us the 5 stages of the human heart. How our journey of self-realization happens. First, we start with ignorant heart. Mudachit, where we are completely deluded. We think unreal is real and real is unreal. That is a mudachit. All of us start like that. When we come from the animal incarnation, we become a human being. We are very much strongly, we are in that state of consciousness. That is God's fault, not our fault. So we can tell him, why did we start our journey like that? you should start us with giving us a glimpse of divinity. But God doesn't do that. He makes us start with a delusion. That's why Guruji says he argues with God. Oh yeah, you are giving us first delusion instead of giving yourself, giving a glimpse of yourself. But we have got nothing, we can't do anything. That's how God has planned. We have to go by that only. So from Mudachit, then we come to the next one, propelled heart. Vikshipta Chit, where we have a desire to know, that we want to understand the truth. We want to know who we are. We think that what I am seeing the outside, that doesn't seem to be real. There is something, which is not correct. Like we get the idea through our dreams. When we are dreaming, we find all sorts of topsy-turvy, so many things happening. Nightmares and different difficult experiences. But then when we wake up, we realize that was just a dream. So then we start entertaining doubts as to the solid that existence of this creation, the material basis of creation. We start questioning that. That is a vikshipta chit. We start examining, we start finding out what is truth. We become a spiritual seeker, truth seeker. As we start making progress, then we reach the third state, that is steady state, kshipta chit. Then we are very steady. Then nothing can take us out. Nothing can take us, deviate from our search for truth. That is the kshipta chit. Most of us are in that state. That we are all very steadily pursuing our goal. We are steady. That is kshipta chit. Then some of us may be in the fourth state, which is ekagra chit. That is, Guruji translates, Yukteswarji translates it as devoted heart. That means when we have concentration, then we get devotion. Because without concentration, devotion becomes sentimental thing, emotional. That doesn't help. So we need to have concentration. That's why scientific techniques, with that we gain concentration and then we just develop our devotion with that. That's why you see in our routine, prayer, chanting, scientific techniques, stillness and developing devotion. That comes the last. Because once you get the concentration, then devotion comes. But Guruji Yukteswarji equates both of them. Ekagra chit and devoted heart. Once we get that, we are not far from the goal. Then we reach the last stage, niruddha chit. All the great ones are in that state. That means the heart is completely purified. That's why Bible says so beautifully. Some of the sayings in Bible are so simple and so straightforward. It says, blessed are the pure in heart, or they will see the kingdom of God. You see, that is what. Niruddha chit means we are perfectly purified in heart. No more worldly vibrations disturbing our heart. We are completely established in God's love. We are caught in God's love, in the net of God's love. Once we are caught in that, then we get that final stage of niruddha chit. That means we have regained our divine stature. You see, that's what we are doing, isn't it? We are gradually coming to that state. Then what is the to-do list? We said we have a to-do list. So what we need to do? Just 3 things we need to do. 1, daily practice of Kriya Yoga Sadhana without fail. With intensity, with focus, with concentration, with devotion, without absent-mindedness. That is how, which is difficult, which is not easy to do. Very easily our mind goes into autopilot mode. We start practicing Kriya, mind also starts wandering. We start doing energization exercise, mind goes here and there. So we need to develop each practice, there should be focus, concentration. So in that way, daily, regular, systematic, sincere practice of Kriya Yoga sites. 1. 2. Right behavior. Check ourselves. What do we do? Throughout the day, we can divide into many zones. Getting up in the morning, having bath, or having breakfast, going for work, whatever. Different ways. I used to divide into 12 zones. And in the night, I have an assessment. Each zone, whether I practiced the presence of God or not. Whether I remembered who I am or my connection with God. So in that way, you make it more systematic. Your behavior will become improved day after day. Because then, scientifically, systematically, you are changing yourself. It's not a vague desire. I want to change, I want to be a good person. Like that, if you vaguely think, that you will be thinking like that only and you will remain the same. So instead of that, we have to do introspection in the right way. And then keep on improving. For that purpose, right behavior, we have to check ourselves. Whether we become angry, whether we become upset, whether we become fearful, anxious, negative thoughts about ourselves. We have to catch. We have to understand. In the beginning, we will find a lot of mistakes will be there. I remember long before when I had just first joined Ranchi Ashram as Pravesharthi. So I did introspection and wrote down a big list, so many things I need to improve. I wrote all of that and went to Swami Anandamayaji, who was here at that time. So I went to him and told him, Swamiji, I got so many things to overcome. So I don't know whether Guruji loves me or not. That's how we feel. When we find so many flaws are there, we feel discouraged. Then naturally you feel Guruji doesn't love you. But Anandamayaji burst out laughing. Instead of sympathetic with me, he just burst out laughing. He said, that is not the way to do introspection. That means when we do introspection, you sort out your flaws. Then don't focus on the flaws. Focus on the opposite. That means suppose you get angry very fast. So you got a very short fuse. Quick. Somebody says something, quickly you lose your temper. Then what do we do? Focus on the opposite. That is peace, calmness, unperturbed consciousness. No matter what people say, I will not allow myself to be disturbed. Like that, you determine. Focus on that again and again. Every day morning you affirm, I am peaceful, I am calm. Like that. Take steps like that. Focus. Even then you will fail. Because don't think that just because you have made affirmation, you are going to succeed in one day. So we have to have patience. And don't be so self-critical. As soon as you recognize your flaw, as we said the other day, straight away go to Guruji. Guruji, forgive me, I failed here. Please help me. I want to change. So in that way, we make active effort and focus on the positive. Naturally, surely, we are going to change. So that is why right behavior is the second one. Third one is developing devotion and love. That is the heart's quality. We can't explain intellectually. This is something comes spontaneously from the heart. As we said, everybody has got this devotion. We should never say, I am not a devotional person. That's not correct. Each one of us is devotional because God is within us and He is trying to pull us inside. All we need to do, find ways by which we can make the relationship very, very intimate, very close, so that we don't hesitate to go to Divine Mother, we go to God, we go to Guruji, all the Gurus, any one of them. That means we are always feel that anytime I can go and share what I have. And where there is love, there can be no worry, no fear, nothing. That. I always give this one story. With that story, we'll close. How, when we trust somebody, there is no fear, there is no anxiety. That simple story. There was a flight That flight went into severe turbulence, lot of shaking. People were all very anxious and very fearful. We can see in their faces. One small child was sitting and reading a book. And it was unperturbed, very calm. So when they reached the destination, somehow, then the next passenger asked the girl, "Were you not afraid? We were all so much afraid. There was so much of shaking in the plane." She said, "No, why should I be afraid? Pilot is my father. He will surely take me home." Such a simple story which tells us clearly we have our Father, our Heavenly Father, manifested through our Gurus. So when we connect with them, we have complete trust in them. Then we love them. Then there's no fear after that. So we need to develop that. It doesn't just come just like that. Intellectually thinking is not enough. This is something we need to feel, which is something we need to develop from the heart. So once you do that, then we find our spiritual life become very simple. It is not complicated after that. Because of that intimate, close relationship with God and Gurus. Then life becomes very simple. But we need to intensely work. Remember that. Laziness is not spirituality. Today's point to keep in mind. Because we should not think that, I will just stop all actions and just remain quiet, I will find God realization. No. We have to be intensely active for God. That's why our path, we have got a balance between love and service. Love and service. That we learn how to love God and then also serve unselfishly. The more we forget our little self and care for others, serve God in others, then we find more and more we are joyous. That is why a person who is very selfish, he is never happy. The person who is unselfish, cares for others, he finds, Guruji, that's why he said, his happiness becomes, that he gets happiness without seeking it. It comes on its own. That's what we all want, isn't it? So, let us have a perfect balance between love and service. So now we'll close our Satsanga by praying for others and sending healing vibrations. Because this is the highest type of service we can do. Because we are actually becoming channels of God's divine powerful vibration to charge us. And we become instruments. So through us, God's power flows to others. It's very important, especially the world which is going through all sorts of turmoils and troubles. So we have to be divine warriors. That means we have to be children of God's light and allow God's light to flow through us. So let us all do that by first sincerely praying from the heart. We will practice healing prayer in our sitting position only today. Heavenly Father, Thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all Thy children. Manifest Thy healing presence in their bodies. Heavenly Father, Thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all Thy children. Manifest Thy healing presence in their minds. Heavenly Father, Thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all Thy children. Manifest Thy healing presence in their souls. For world peace and brotherhood. O ever existing, ever conscious, ever new bliss, recharges with your spiritual vibrations. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.